Hello everyone, my name is Szymon Mila. I'm working in PSNC and I will be providing a short introduction to data monetization, Datamite, and also our pilot for the agriculture domain. So what do we mean by data monetization? It's not only like direct financial gain for our company, but it is how we use the data to add or increase our revenue streams. And this can be thought both ways. Internally, where we analyze the data and make informed business decisions about what to do next for our company. And external, where we kind of package our data, internal data, into data products or services and sell them or share them in other ways with third-party companies. And nowadays we have a lot of data, especially in IoT. Well, everything now is IoT. Everything has some kind of sensor that generates some data, and we store this data. But most of this data is not used for analytics by companies. 1/3 of the companies don't have real value coming from this data. There is a big data decision gap, so we don't know what to do with that data. And also quality of the data is quite low. That's why the revenue cost is quite big to fix that data, let's say. So how do we improve the value of our data? So the challenge is not only to collect that data, because we are already doing that, but how to use that data to increase our company's value, let's say. And there are many barriers to that. First of all, we don't have this kind of like data sharing culture. Companies usually have some kind of proprietary data that they don't want to and don't know how to share in a trustful and secure manner with others. We have also issues with transparency in the data usage. So we don't know who is using our data, what for, and we don't have control over that. We don't have governance over that. And moreover, we are lacking as data owners kind of like tools or frameworks that allows us to go through this process of moving the data from internal sources to external partners. And especially in the agriculture world, farmers are very reluctant to share their data, especially without any incentives. So they don't get money or don't get any other feedback from the data that they are sharing. And in agriculture, we have also a lot of different entities that participate in this domain. So we have farmers, we have also producers of some chemical products, we have seed providers, we have producers of machines that usually also provide some kind of software for their machines. So all these actors are not, to be honest, integrating together because the data is often stored in some proprietary formats. There is no interoperability between them. And also quality of the data coming from different sources is quite inconsistent. So it's very hard to make a proper business decisions based on this data. And especially now with AI-based decision-making, this can lead to invalid decisions and wrong results for the farmers or other stakeholders. And in Poland, we have several open data sets, but they have different quality and precision, and they have different standards. Sometimes they use different standards, so they're not very easily reused by the stakeholders. But having all this data, especially if some of the processes are automated, and we can aggregate this data, we can have a really big impact, economical impact for the stakeholders in the agriculture sector. So now we come to one of the participants in the pilot of Datamite. This is Edwin project, and this is it created IT platform for integrated plant protection. It introduced some predictive models related to main cultivations in Poland. We have currently over 30,000 users. Most of them are farmers, but we are also providing views for advisors to the farmers, so people that help farmers make their decisions. And we offer 4 main services. First one is virtual farm, where farmers can provide some information about their farms, so their location, size, what type of crops they are using on the fields, and also all the operations that they are doing on the fields we are storing. So all the plant protection products that are used, all other agricultural operations are stored in a historical manner and can be used, for example, for dotations and other, keeping the history of that operations. We are also providing a set of models that calculate the risk for each farmer of their fields about pests and diseases that can happen on their fields. So we collect some data from farmers, from sensors, and we provide feedback to the farmer. Okay, this field has high risk of this particular pest to be happening. And the last one is sharing some of the data that we already were collecting in Edwin to share it to outside stakeholders. And Edwin is providing a lot of different data. First of all, it's vocabularies, especially in this Polish region. So we can have the common language when we communicate with, for example, the government services or institutions, so we use the same language. Next one is meteo data. During the project, we deployed over 500 stations that collect the meteo data, and we also integrate from other existing solutions, integrate their data into our system. And finally, we also provide these kind of alerts, regional alerts about particular pests and diseases that can happen. And having this some part of the data in this whole ecosystem, for the Datamite project, we wanted to create a collaborative ecosystem that we as data producers, but also data consumers, that all this data will be coming to us from different systems. We want to create this ecosystem that help us not only publish and share the data, but also monetize the data. And there are different systems. There are different farm management systems, some commercial ones. There are different systems that produce different data into all this ecosystem. But we need a way how to join this ecosystem in a trustful and productive way. So first of all, we need to harmonize and validate the data that is coming from us, especially when we talk about these kind of models or standards that we're gonna reuse, so we can communicate easily with different data sets. Then we need some kind of tools to check quality of our data, so generate some metrics, some rules on our data that we can check. Next, we can create data products by either directly using some data sources, maybe aggregating data sources, do some other operations like anonymization of our data. For example, if there is some private part of the data that we don't want to be shared in this shared space. And also for data products, we want to create some kind of policies. So who can access the data, how, what is the license for our data, and so on. And finally, when we prepare this product, we need to be able to share it in some shared data space or data market. And all these transactions, so everybody that uses our data, we need to have some kind of history or log, who is using our data and how. So we can maybe change our future data products to better fit the needs of the clients. And this is where Datamite comes to help us because it provides EU companies a better way to govern and monetize their data by delivering a modular open source framework. And this is a set of software modules, trainings, and business materials. So as a different kind of types of users, so technical users, business users, we can access this framework, upload our data in some way, and then share that data to other systems, maybe store it, maybe use it for calculations using some hardware resources, and so on. So this is the main very high-level overview of the Datamite. We have over 25 organizations that helped to produce this framework. And this is both technical partners and also pilots that validate the solution. And coming more to high-level overview of the framework, I will go very swiftly through how it happens. So on the bottom, we have this existing data in our systems that first we need to access. So we have a lot of connectors to existing storage system, SQLs, streaming data, file data, and so on that we can ingest into the system, into Datamite. Then we have a set of data support tools that let us operate on the data, so analyze, validate the data, harmonize the data into common formats, and then using data quality tools, we can make some observations on our data. So we have automatic profiler of our data, automatic KPI evaluation, and we are also able to create user-defined rules on our data to check, for example, for some extreme data that doesn't fit, we can check it here and remove it in a later stage. The next step is data governance, which lets us create these data products that I mentioned before. So we are taking these basic raw data sets, add some metadata to that, maybe do some operations, anonymization, maybe aggregate two different data sets into one because it fits better our purpose of our data, and create this data product. And then finally, in data sharing part, we have a lot of connectors, plugins to different data space systems. So we have, for example, AI on demand. We have Pontus X for data marketplace, Gaia X, and others, other data spaces that we can connect to. And on top of that, we have also a front end that collects all these modules that do all this work for our data and presents it to the user in a very nice way. So we can define domains, terms, and glossaries for our particular domain. We can create or ingest a data set or a set of data sets from our internal product, create data products, and then publish them to these external systems. And when we create data product, we have a lot of meta information that we provide, and that is mapped then to these external systems. So when mapping Edwin use case to the architecture of Datamite, on the left, we start with this existing system, so Edwin and Agrego. Agrego is another farm management system that we also integrated into this pilot. Then we do this ingestion process that transforms the data, harmonizes the data, and prepares it to be put onto the data catalog. In the data catalog, we can create some additional meta information about our data, create data products that finally can be published onto the data spaces. And in our case, we decided to use Pontus X. It is an open source framework for value creation in industrial AI and data economy. And it bases on X ecosystem, Gaia X. And for our case, we created a Polish agricultural data space, which covers for the region of Poland all these agri-related data sets. And this is example of one of the weather station that data from weather stations from Edwin for a particular time frame. And what are the main aspects, these monetization aspects that we get from Datamite project and for the future? So first of all is this marketplace, this Polish agricultural data space that I just shown, which provides also information about logging, how the data is used, and also integrates with payment methods. So there is a wallet that you can also integrate when you join Pontus X network, and it is used to exchange and validate and pay for the data that clients use from the providers. And from the Datamite itself, we are mostly interested in data sharing, data governance, and data security modules, which can be reused and in different projects future on. And there are different ways that the data can be monetized using different strategies. So first of all, it's just expose data products directly on the market, and the clients can directly use, for example, for a subscription fee or pay-per-use, or even free if we don't want to. If we want to share the data for free. There is also capability in Pontus X that the data itself can be used by models without sharing the data itself. So we still keep the data on our end, but it can be used, for example, to train AI models or for different AI purpose. And finally, we can also share within data space using connectors. So the connectors are responsible for negotiating and providing the data. So for a conclusion, we showcased how Datamite solves some of the problems and obstacles that agriculture in particular have with data monetization by providing this kind of set of tools to provide some information about our data, provide governance tools, reusability tools to share the data outside. We are also reusing a lot of standards for major data initiatives. So, for example, GaiaX have a lot of data spaces protocols that they are using. And we also can improve the quality of the data that we have. So for the next steps, we want to continue using the components that were deployed within the Datamite, and also integration with this agricultural data space for future use. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you much.
Thank you very much, Szymon.
First of all, thanks you in advance for the opportunity of sharing with you our experience with the Datamite framework from this pilot in pilot 1. We have participated in this project as a tester for this framework. From the point of view of a company, a group of companies which has the problematic of the data sharing among the different companies in the group. Okay. My name is Federico Piñuela, and I'm in charge of the Department of Data Science and Artificial Intelligence in Nialistec. Nialistec is part of this company, the group of this group of companies. And I will start introducing you who we are, and especially our idiosyncrasy in terms of data sharing, etc. Nealis is a familiar group, okay? A familiar group with a large quantity of different companies forming it. We are now more or less more than 40 companies, and the principal characteristic is we are displayed more. We are in different areas, very different areas, very diverse areas, in 4 main pillars: water management, water and environment, facility and services, infrastructure, and hospitality. We cover from water to energy, facility services, etc. And this diversity of different sectors can be resumed in one aspect, which is we are specialists in diverse citizen services in different facets in different aspect, but citizen services. Okay. This diversity is an advantage, but also is a drawback for us. It's an advantage because we have presence in very large different businesses, but the drawback is the convergence among the different companies in different aspects. Okay, many of these companies, but not all of them, operates in a isolated way in many ways, because it's great. It's an advantage for its business, but in terms of different aspects of technology and technology, but because it's my worry, is my main worry in this point. It's a need to achieve the convergence in terms of different technologies used in these companies. More concrete in terms of technology used in data management. The data management technologies used among the companies is diverse in many situations, but now we are achieving a greater way to the convergence, and we are achieving the great point of convergence. And Datamite has developed a great role in this convergence, especially in terms of data sharing and as a first step for the monetization of this data. Datamite has provided channels for the exchange of data among the different companies, and not only that, it's a way to put the idea of monetization on the table. We are doing a great evangelization work, and it continues in this moment, and we have a hard work in the future, but we think it's the first step for achieve this challenge and pursue this vision. And why we are we're trying to convergence and exchange of in the change of data and the data sharing. Three main reasons. First of all, the improvement of the competitiveness is obviously because we are stronger when we work in a same way, and we work together. The second, the cost reduction, because we reduce the redundancy of data creation in the different companies, and we can share main source among them. And the third one is the revelation of hidden synergies among the companies. And this is something real, because we have found this now in points we didn't believe they were there. Our pilot is, how I say it, is covering the exchange or the share of data between the sharing of data among the companies, and the scenarios we have prepared to test this pilot and to test the Datamite covers the real work in our department and in other departments, which are data-driven departments in the corporation. The first scenario is the publication of the data. Okay, taking data available to this publication and covering all aspects about this data, from metadata to glossary, etc. Information which is vital to the consumers of this data. The second scenario is the consumer of the data. Person, component of a determined department or company, explores the published data sets and find the most suitable for its needs. And the third one covers mainly the work in my department and will be the enrichment of the data. not only from the way of transformation of this data, published data, but also the enrichment by way of artificial intelligence models, machine learning, and large, etc., different techniques. This puts in front of the consumer the two main types of or roles of companies in the consortium, in the enterprise. The first is the company which produce data, a large amount of data with in the main time is not used, is useless, and the company which needs this data, has the capabilities to analyze, to enrich this data, and have a lack of data to use in its capabilities. From this point, which are the most valuable points or features in Datamite for us in our case? The first, the existence of the marketplace. We have seen a part of this in the previous speech, and for us is the main meeting point for the companies in terms of data exploration. Is the core of the solution. Second, the possibility of explore data using different metrics, different quality tools, and this gives us a first view of the state of the data and a comparison between this data and the data which is published by other companies. First point of first level of status of data, quality data in our case. The third one is the integrability of the framework in our infrastructure, in our data infrastructure. This is crucial, and the technology used in Datamite is a standard in the market, and is the same one we have used in designing our architecture, data architecture. And this a great point in order to integrate Datamite in our internal processes. And the last one, but not the less valuable, is the point of security. For us, data is gold, and this is the main reason we need channels of exchange which offer security and security in this case. Okay, and with this we have the first step. The first step for us is the internal exchange of data between the companies in the company, in the group. But the following steps covers the integration of other organizations. Okay. In this point, we can start talking about the monetization of the data and the vision of our company in the next 1-2 years. I think in the evolution in our roadmap, and with this integration in our sharing architecture based on Datamite is the first point to extract and revenue from the data, and not only an indirect revenue but also a direct revenue, talking about economic revenue, etc. And we have a hard path in front of us, but with initiatives as Datamite and with these frameworks, we can easily advance in the different steps of this roadmap. And we think, as I said, in the next 2 years as much, we will have a framework with the capability of offering our data with the revenue and enriching around bulk of data shared, data in Datamite. And this is all from my side. I wanted to express and share our work in Datamite and our experience and the benefits of using this framework in our our daily work. This is all from my side. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. I think it's
You're welcome.
very interesting to see the benefits from other perspective.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining, and for those watching this, thanks for watching. Yeah, my name is Pedro Boto. I'm a data and AI specialist at EOSC, and today I'll walk you through the Datamite pilot 4 that was focused on leveraging electricity distribution open data. Regarding the structure for today's talk, so a brief introduction to EOSC and our role as the DSO, then the problem statement, why sharing open data alone is no longer enough. After that, I'll walk you through the pilot 4, the overview and implementation, and explaining how Datamite was used in practice. And finally, I close with the KPIs and outcomes, what Pilot 4 has validated, and which aspects are still constrained by some external factors that we are going to explore. By the end, you should have a clear picture of what worked, what didn't, and where we can go next. Let's just take 2 minutes to watch a quick video that's easier to show you who we are, and then we'll do a quick summary as well. Let me know if you hear the sound. If not, there are subtitles.
No, we cannot hear the sound. We can see
No?
it, but not hear the sound.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it has to do with the permissions, if I'm able to share sound. Let me just check. If not, it's okay. We can skip this part. Yeah, I don't see any option to share the sound. Let me just go back to the presentation. Okay, so I guess we'll skip the video because it's not that fun without the sound. And just go with a quick introduction to EOSC. So EOSC is the Portugal's main electricity distribution system operator, so the DSO. We operate the high voltage, medium voltage, and low voltage distribution grid, and ensure safe and reliable power delivery to more than 6 million customers. So making us a key enabler of the energy transition in the country. We manage highly digital data intensive smart grids with advanced metering, the SCADA operational systems that generate massive amount of data every day, be it in volume, velocity, variety. You name it, we have it all. That data supports our day-to-day activities, so relating to operating the system, so the system operation, network planning, asset management, customer services, and also the much needed regulatory reporting. Because we interact constantly with the regulators, the TSO, REN, so Redes Energéticas Nacionais, municipalities, the market operators, and also, given the context where we are European projects, it's essential that our data is of high quality, it's well governed, and it's shareable in a secure and a controlled manner. And that's it. I would say that's exactly the context in which Pilot 4 was designed. Okay. So on this slide, we have summarized the main challenges we faced. So the first one, the grid is becoming more digital, more distributed, and much more data intensive. The volume, the frequency, and the complexity of operational data is all growing, which makes manual and more traditional ad hoc data preparation methods and approaches more and more sustainable as we go. Secondly, external stakeholders' expectations are rising. So municipalities, regulators, the TSO, energy communities, market operators, even in the context of your projects, all expect that data is not only available, but also trustworthy and somewhat standardized and of easy access. Then, some of our current open data sharing processes still involve some manual effort. So, especially around the quality checks that we have to make sure that we don't share bad quality data, the metadata is consistent, and the ability to publish to multiple channels. So we need to make this. We have to make an effort to make this more efficient and more automated. Fourth, if we want to join the common European energy data spaces or SEEDs, we need to be interoperable with the IDS and the GAIX standards, and we need to use the harmonized metadata models and rely on these sovereign connectors. However, and this was our experience with the project, many of these are still somewhat emerging technologies. Finally, as a regulator, DSO, and I think this is the part where we deviate a bit from the monetizing parts of the talk, because we can't really monetize in the sense of gaining some monetary advantage from it. What we can do is make processes, reinvent our processes so they spend less money, and something along those lines. But again, as a regulator DSO, we also must ensure that any data that we share is safe, it's compliant, and it's fair, even though it's not monetized. While also maintaining the efficiency and transparency that we have to guarantee on these processes. What does it mean internally? So it means that our data has to be well governed, and it also has to be ready to be shared repeatedly with external entities. And these, I would say, are the drivers behind the Pilot 4 and the work we developed within the scope of the Datamite. So against what we talked about in the previous slides, Pilot 4 had three main blocks. So we have the objectives, what we tested, and why it matters. In terms of the objectives, we wanted to enrich the spectrum of open data users, reaching beyond the current consumers of our portal. We aimed to make redes open data to be combined with other sources, so to increase the value to society and support some other use cases. We also plan to evaluate the economic impact of sharing data through the common European data spaces. And we also wanted to look into reducing operational costs and efforts associated with the open data sharing initiatives and pipelines by improving the automation and also the governance aspect of those. In terms of what we tested with Datamite, we configured new data quality parameters and evaluated them systematically at ingestion. We also created data products from the evolving data sets that are already being shared in the EHREDS Open Data Portal. We tested the technical infrastructure of energy data spaces, such as the publication to the EOSC connector. And we worked on streamlining the content creation and publication workflow to make sharing open data faster and more controlled. And why does this matter? So, because this pilot validates the full Datamite flow, let me just check because I'm hearing a lot of pop-ups. You can still see me and hear me, right? And see my presentation.
Yeah, we can see your presentation. Yes, you can continue.
Okay. So, because this pilot, validates the Datamite flow from artifact to dataset to data product, and finally to the publication of the data products. It also helps align EHREDS with the European interoperability and data sovereignty models. So making sure that you can use those connectors and the content we have are aligned and ready to be shared through those. And prepares us to integrate with these new external ecosystems that more and more entities are adhering to. So municipalities, the ones that we spoke before, to make sure that we are ready for this integration for this interoperability once the wider infrastructure is ready. Okay, moving on to the next slide. So let's now take a look at what was actually implemented in the pilot from a technical point of view. So on the end-to-end data pipeline, so on the first box, we ingested 12 artifacts into Datamite, representing the raw and aggregated data that is also present on the EHREDS Open Data Portal. These artifacts on ingestion were automatically profiled for schema structure and quality KPIs. From these artifacts, the framework created 6 data sets because, as you can see in the picture, one data set can have one or more artifacts. And upon this creation, it was also enriched with metadata and quality evaluation from the artifacts. We then built 6 data products by combining these multiple data sets, and we enriched those with license information, temporal and spatial coverage, and other relevant metadata, such as descriptions that were then used and migrated upon integration with the Open Data Portal. Finally, we configured 7 publication flows from the 6 data products that were created, and these went to the Open Data Portal, the EHREDS Open Data Portal, and to the EOSC connector. On the governance and quality and readiness aspects, we validated 23 user-defined quality KPIs, in addition to the Datamite's default KPIs applied mainly at artifact level. So this is the rules that we define, that one field can't be less or equal to some value, and that rule is evaluated periodically. We also populated the governance layer by defining 4 domains, 5 glossaries, and 11 terms to again improve metadata and ensure that the data assets and information is semantically consistent across everything that we have on the framework, so that one technical term in an artifact stays the same meaning across the data sets and data products that are created. And we also tested the data harmonization tool, and we could confirm that we are able to align the schemas and contents of two files, for instance. On the technical integration side, in this iteration, the framework ran on a Linux virtual machine provided by our technical partners, ITI. We then validated the publication to the EOSC Open Data Portal using the developed FTP broker. We also configured, as stated before, the publication to the EDC connector, and here we were able to configure the access policies and to demonstrate a possible seeds-aligned publication path. Although we couldn't go all the way to a fully operational seeds instance within this project. It is also important to note that the architecture, in our view, is cloud agnostic, so it remains compatible with the future deployment on an Azure or AWS based virtual machine, for instance. Now, all these topics can show that the Datamite can support a repeatable, a compliant, and an interoperable publication workflow through to these portals, to the EOSC portal, and also possibly to the common European data spaces. Finally, let's look at the KPIs and some comments on those. So these were the KPIs that were defined in the beginning of the project, and we have 2 sets. So the external KPIs and the internal KPIs. At the top, you can see the external KPIs. So we had indicators such as the KPI 1, measuring the number of national and international users accessing open data, and also KPI 4, measuring the average cost of delivering open data. Because the framework ended up not being deployed in the EOSC production environment, and because there was no operational seeds instance to publish this information to, these KPIs, KPI 1 and KPI 4, were not measurable at this stage. We simply do not have a way to attribute changes in usage or cost directly to Datamite yet. On the other hand, KPI 2 and KPI 3 were achieved, so we were able to integrate 12 datasets and artifacts into the framework. as targeted, and 6 data products were also creating using the Datamite framework, and are technically ready to be published and to be shared, even if they are not exposed to a live data space during the project. Now let's look at the internal KPIs at the bottom. So some have a bit of an overlap with the ones that we looked into before. I1, again, 12 selected artifacts were ingested into the sandbox. I2 and I3, 6 data products were created and ready to be provided to a data space. I4, it's related to connectors to databases and means to connect data to the framework, to ingest data into the framework. So 4 connectors compatible with the EHEAD's internal systems were developed by the technical partners. I5, it's related to metadata, so and to the sharing of this metadata together with the data. They were shared successfully through the EHEAD's Open Data Portal, and it enabled us to validate the publication workflow via this external channel. I6, which measures how many times data products were retrieved by users, could not be meaningfully evaluated. So even if we had published them, so since we didn't have available a data space to publish to, even if we had published them through the Open Data Portal, this usage would mostly reflect our existing BI pipeline that's feeding the Open Data Portal, rather than the framework itself. So in summary, on the right, under the technical feasibility, Pilot 4 demonstrated the technical feasibility of Datamite for ingestion, transformation, governance, and sharing of data products in this controlled setting. Under the external constraints, we recognize that KPIs related to real-world usage, the cost effectiveness and efficiency, and the live data space interaction remains open for future works. So this would only be because this would only be measurable once seeds and the related infrastructures are operational, and should the framework be deployed in a EHEAD's own environment. And I think that's the key takeaway here. So we have validated the technical path, and we now have a clear view of what depends on the wider European data space ecosystem, I'd say.